everyone, and welcome along to One Hub Racing Season 26, round number 11, the penultimate round of the championship as we head to the Miami International Autodrome near the Hard Rock Stadium, where we could see a champion being crowned tonight in the P1 tier. My name is Jessica, and joining me once again for this lovely P1 tier, we've got J. Cole. Jack, how you doing?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Jess. I am all good, thank you, and I hope everyone is having a very good bank holiday weekend so far in the UK, or if anywhere else. Obviously, I hope you're having a good weekend as well. Looking forward to most likely getting a champion crowned for this evening. Still circumstances where it could go to the final race, but it's looking the most likely that it's going to be this evening. And well, I suppose we'll see in probably about an hour's time.
Yeah, we are going to see in an hour's time. We thought the P2 championship was going to get crowned, but the championship leader made a mistake, so that's going to the final race. So we hope, for our sakes, that the championship gets crowned next week for P1 as well in Belgium, because wouldn't that be nice? But we'll go through the standings right now, because that's the important thing. Of course, two people could still win the title. That is Craggy and Senna. I'll need to get the permutations up on my screen because only us know about it, none of the drivers. So basically, Craggy will be world champion in Miami if he finishes at least 9th, no matter where Senna finishes. If Senna wins and he finishes 10th, if Senna finishes second with fastest lap and he finishes 11th or 12th, and if Senna finishes second and he does not score. So pretty much he's got to be following it in the wet conditions. Yes, spoiler alert, it's going to be wet for most of the race in order for the championship to be decided next week. But as you were saying, if Craggy finishes at least 9th or better, he is champion.
Oh, it's looking like I know you guys normally do the track that's usually happening in the real life F1 calendar. I didn't realize you also simulated the weather in the real life F1 calendar as well, because it's absolutely chucking it down in Miami at the moment, and not just in Miami at the moment, but also in the game. It's chucking it down, as you say. So I think usually the wet weather, I always love what it's in. Seeing how drivers get on in the wet weather, because then it shows who are the ones that are the better and more skilled drivers, in my opinion. And yeah, as I say, I always love watching it and seeing how people get on in terms of wet weather conditions and racing against each other.
Yep, I know the likes of Marco has done quite well in the wet weather. I'm interested to see how he does. Callum Unarmed as well has done quite well. We've already had 3 wet weather races. We've had Jeddah towards the end of the race. Zandvoort was, I think, after a few laps, and then it got wet. Japan, it was raining towards the second half of the race, and then we're going to get Miami. That's going to rain for most of the race. But because we've had 4 wet races, we're going to have 4 wet races already this season. At least for Belgium, it's going to be dry because we're only allowed no more than 4 races in the wet conditions. So spoiler alert, in Belgium it's going to be dry for at least the race. Qualifying, they may get a wet sprinkle, but in the race in Belgium at least it's going to be dry. But the drivers are about to get ready. The constructors could be decided tonight as well, could be more than likely. And there's also an interesting battle for the top 5 between Marco, Lakitu and entity that we got to keep an eye on. We will see if any one of those guys could get 3rd in the championship, and they could get free entry to next season and a lovely trophy as well, Jack.
Yeah, they certainly can, and that's not something that you want to sort of take for granted either, especially with the new game coming out at the end of the month. So yeah, you definitely want to at least have a nice little free entry into the league for the next game, if you're obviously going to be signing up for One Hub for next season of number 27.
Yeah, season 27 on F1 25. Things are coming out quick. There's certain drivers I know in the pre-race interviews that want to get rid of F1 24 as soon as they can. So hopefully these final 2 races for them are going to be good. At least qualifying is going to be dry. We'll look at the track very quickly. It is 19 corners, 13 to the left, 6 to the right, 3 DRS zones. We got one heading in towards, well, the start finish straight. We got one heading in towards 10 and 11, and then we got one in the back straight in the middle of turn 16, heading in towards turn 17. And the last race winner, well, he's not here at the moment, but Samba last one here in One Hub Racing. When we came, I can't remember what season I think it must be season 24. We were last here, so that is going to be interesting. But we're about to get underway as we're just waiting for our championship leader to ready up. And this is going to be interesting with setups, Jap, because of course in qualifying they would want to have a medium downforce setup, but in the race, I wonder what they're going to go for.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the beauty of it is that we normally change sessions anyway between the race and qualifying. So they're probably going to have a dry setup in this to then have a wet setup going into the actual race itself. So they're probably going to be feeling quite blessed that there is normally a lobby restart. And yeah, I expect quite a few people to go all out with like a hard on the tyres setup for this, for the qualifying and then for the race. Probably chuck up their wings a little bit, just at least indicators towards the rain. That's obviously coming in that race as well. Yeah,
plenty of opportunities for people to really get their heads into gear, and hopefully we can have a good race. So without further ado, as I was just getting my stream deck ready, let's get some laps in around this Miami International Autodrome circuit. We are pretty much getting a repeat of the real life, because I believe it was dry in qualifying yesterday as well, and in spring quali. So there we go. But that's what the wheel does for you, as we're seeing, I think, 3 drivers on sharing the same piece of tarmac in one qualifying session, which you do not want to do that. I think we got Lakitu and Craggy. Could we expect to see, I think, one of the Aston Martins give the toe to gain some time?
I think that's exactly what we're going to see here from the looks of things. I think it's going to be Lakitu. He wants to help his teammate wrap up this championship tonight from the looks of things. So I won't be at all surprised if we see Lakitu give that slipstream over to Craggy for this evening. And yeah, even if it's not going to be now, then most likely the last lap that they get in qualifying, just so they can push or help Craggy push that over the edge and confirm that title for this evening.
Yeah, I think Lakitu has got to play the wingman game. To be honest, he does have that advantage that he is not going for the title himself, but he wants to fight for as many positions as he can. So let's go on board with Craggy. Oh no! As I just went on board with him, he's had a bit of a slide turn 1. So he's aborted that run. Take 2. And we'll see if we can go on board with someone else. I think that was Jonas Olbert, who's just about to in the middle of his lap now as he makes his way towards these next set of turns. Big mistake from Craggy there. Maybe the pressure's getting to him.
Yeah, not something that you want to be having. So just as you say, random board with Jonas Olbert, just making his way up towards the DRS zone now. Very long DRS zone, as you saw in the actual race as well yesterday. Just before the sprint race, of course, Charles Leclerc straight into the wall on that right-hand side after aquaplaning straight into that wall. So, yeah, don't think we'll see anybody do that for this evening in the real race, but you never know. For some reason, they could end up aquaplaning on there. Now, through the tightest chicane, I'd probably say on the F1 calendar, very, very close, met with the castle section in Baku as well. But now the second DRS straight leading down towards the leading down towards the hairpin, very, very crucial. I'd normally say it's the final corner because the last 2 corners you don't actually brake for. So in towards the hairpin now, you want to make sure you get this one spot on. Nicely done from Jonas Olbrook. A little bit of a lock up, but that doesn't matter. He's managed to keep it nice and tight on the inside of that hairpin. You want to keep as far to the right as possible on the exit of that final corner. A 126.3 to kick things off with Jonas Olbrook, ahead of Callum and Armed. Very decent lap from Jonas.
Yes, very decent lap. And look at that. Already Senna is in the 125s, and he probably realised that Craggy has not set a lap yet, and he's going to take full on advantage as we speak. Quite a lot of drivers have said that they have not practiced a lot for this Miami race, which is going to make things a little bit more spicy. Quite a lot of these drivers were preferring a bit of the wetterness, as we've got more drivers going up to the line. Furious, by the way, and Curry and quite a few other drivers are taking their engine and gearbox penalties. for this evening. I believe that is the last one of the penalties. As Furious had a minimum moment through turn 5 and 6. That could catch a lot of drivers off guard, and not surprised that he's binned it like that, unfortunately. So he's lost it on the ground there. Let's see how other drivers are doing. We've got Ricardo. Ricardo's in the pits, but his teammate Curry slots himself into P5. Oh, as Oshin is retired in the pits, does he not know that you could still do a lap during your engine and gearbox penalty? I don't think he knew that.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that either. I probably thought, why is he doing that? I don't know what Lukey's doing. I think he thinks it's still practice because he's just tried turning around after crossing the line to complete a lap and trying to go back into the pit lane. So I think he's I think he's still in practice mode. Is good old Lukey, but he's definitely found out now and realised his mistake. Luckily, he didn't end up driving backwards. Otherwise, that would have been disqualified, and he'd be starting at the very back as well with all the guys that are also taking their engine penalties.
Yes, I don't think Lukey would have wanted that. I think because they were just practicing before this as well, they just go into that practice mode where you can go backwards. But no, going backwards here is not the best move. And you can't get more than 4 runs anyway. You can only get 3 runs. You're not going to have time to do 4 runs. So, yeah, I think Lukey would have hated that. Marco slots himself into P2, which makes Jonas Olbricht's time a little bit more impressive. What can Jason do? He's not feeling very well tonight, so he's just hoping that he can survive this race. Ivan Mike, I don't think he set a valid lap yet, and I'm just seeing, is he going to push? He is using a bit of his overtake now, so up, and he's hit the wall. Not a good start to your lap, Mike.
Either spin Mike hitting the wall.
Yes.
Sky is blue, the sun is yellow. So
he is blue.
What can we say?
So maybe he wanted to be blue all the time because that's where the sun shines. But anyway, Mike will have a chance to go into the pits. We've got Lakitu on a run. He was originally going to be helping his teammate, but because, of course, Craggy lost it in turn number 1 earlier on, then Lakitu did not have a chance to set a valid lap time. So I think he would help each other after that. And I just see Lukey in the chat going, whoops. Yeah, big oof. It's not practice, it's the actual thing. And you were one of the ones who set up the lobby. Anyway, Lakitu heading towards what I like to call the Vietnamese section, because it looks similar to Vietnam. Heading towards the crest of turn 40. Oh, Lakitu's been validated. It's not going well for the Aston Martins, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. But the other Aston Martin, Craigie, is on a lap at the moment. He's just coming up towards the start of the second sector as well. So intrigued to see what time he's going to put on the board here, coming through the tight and twisty chicane. Doesn't invalidate like his teammate has done, and now up towards the long DRS straight as a 1 minute 0.9 for Craigie, our championship leader at the moment, a potential champion for this evening. DRS now wide open for the Aston Martin, makes his way up towards the hairpin. He's got to get that braking right, wants to try and be as competitive as possible, especially considering Senna is the one that's at the top of the standings at the moment. And out of the final corner, keeps his foot planted on the throttle, a little bit of oversteer moment, but he's kept it going. A 125.8. That is why he is the championship leader. He shows that even under pressure of trying to put a lap on the board, he does go up ahead of his championship rival.
Yes, I mean, his standings results are really pretty much the most consistent driver in the league. I will not be surprised if he's the one that's going to be topping the rankings, Cam's ranking that he does. I haven't looked at it properly, but I will not be surprised if Craggy comes out on top of that. More drivers to set a lap time. I know Ricardo's been looking quite quick in the practice, but he's lost half of his front wings, so I think he's going to go into the pits and dive it in. We'll see what Marco is doing in towards the middle sector. He's only about a tenth up in sector 1, so he needs to gain a bit more time in sector 2. But we know we will see what he could do. Furious is on a lap now, but I think you're going into the pits. Callum Unarmed, who has won quite a few races this season. He's looking to add another one to the list with his fantastic pace in the wet conditions. Callum goes up to the line. My pick for the race win tonight. Let's see what he could do. P5 for Callum.
Yeah, pretty good from Callum, and getting the race predictions in early, I see. Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough, fair enough.
we used to, so I thought, why
Oh,
not?
yeah, why not? Okay. Well, I'm going to then call it here and say that our champion is going to be crowned tonight, and I think Craigie's going to end up winning the race for this evening. So we shall see, as you say, in about an hour's time. But round on board, of course, with the other championship rival of Mr. ERC Senna. He is currently on a lap, making his way up towards the hairpin, keeping it in medium ERS, keeps it nice and tight through that hairpin, and again, foot straight on the floor for coming out of the hairpin. Up towards the line comes Senna. Is it better than his 125.9? It is. It's a 125.7. Jumps up ahead of Craigie and jumps up ahead of Marco, as Marco also improved on his time up onto now the first row, but in second position. So 3 drivers in the 25s at the moment. And I suspect we're going to see a few more of those, as Jonas Olbrecht, I just realized, improved on his time as a 126.1 for Jonas. He's looking very quick at the moment.
Yeah, Jonas has been looking so good. I think you can tell that he's put in quite a lot of practice going into this evening's race, and I'm all for it. I always like the surprise results, the underdog. Could we see a potential podium for him? That could be very impressive. I know Mike and Jonas Olbrecht have been having those rivalries before, but we never know with this championship. You never know with One Hub Racing. And he did say in the interviews that he's done some practice and he found a setup that's worked for him, and he pretty much was a mind reader and knew it was going to rain, so he did some more practice in the rain. So I'm expecting big things for Jonas Olbrecht here tonight. More drivers are out on laps. Berry was on a lap, but he's lost his front wing, so he's not going to be doing that. Entity going up to finish his lap. We've got Wait on an out lap. Nick is on a lap as well. I can see his teammate nearby, so Lukey's probably going to give Nick the tow, heading towards the back straight coming up soon. But Entity now, who's been looking quite good in most of the races this season. There was a few races where he was feeling very unlucky. Exits the last corner, very tight, running wide on exit, which is what you really need to do there. Goes up to line. Is he going to match Senna and Marco? The answer to that is no, only going 5th. Jonas Olbrecht still beating Entity.
Yeah, so just proves that he has had a very good time as Jonas Olbrecht, and I suppose even with still 6 minutes left to go, there's still room for improvement for him. So we'll see if he does end up improving and potentially getting himself up onto the front row of the grid, because he's looking very promising at the moment. But the other Aston Martin of Lakitu, he is just making his way around that hairpin and up towards the final corners now. See what he is able to do. It's looking like it's going to be in contention with the top guys in the 25s. It certainly is a 25.597 for Lakitu. What a lap time that is. Again, no lap time on the board, and straight away mid 25s for him.
He's slowing down to help Craigie.
Very impressive time. Yeah, very well done from him as well. We need to try and play that team game with his teammate.
Yep, hopefully this is going to work out better for Craigie and not him losing it. The back straight, I think, is where you're going to gain the most time. So I think that they're probably in a party together, so that they're going to work out very well. So the DRS is going to be wide open for both of them. Craigie is going to gain all that slipstream, so we'll see what he could do. Very nicely timed there as they make their way in towards the one of the tight chicanes coming up as well. He's got to nail this, because even though, he's had a bit of a tank slapper there. Let's see how he takes the crest. He takes that very nicely. So it's not the perfect lap, but we'll see what he could do going through this back straight then. He doesn't have that long to get this lap completed and then dive it into the pits and then get one more lap in. So he's got to nail it, does Craigie, if he wants to beat the likes of Senna and his teammate. Exits the last corner. The last corner he took very nicely. Hopefully he won't have a bit of a tank slapper there. He was struggling ever so slightly. But what's it going to be for our championship leader? Only goes P2.
Yeah, but that's the main thing. Him and his teammate are first and second at the moment, so it is advantage Craigie in this championship. But of course, we've still got about 4 minutes left to go, and there's still plenty of time for people to be making improvements. I mean, Callum and Arnd is currently on a lap at the moment as well. Get a nice little bit of slipstream from one of the strict cars on an in-lap. I believe that was Casper, I think, just on an in-lap. But yeah, Callum and Arnd currently on a lap, as you say, has won a race at least this season, and we'll see if he's able to do it for tonight, as he has a massive tank slapper over the chicane as well. The Welshman's not going to be very happy with that, but still 3 temps up on his time time. So he's looking to try and push the boundary and get himself into the 25s as well as the top 4, see if he is able to do it. And of course, that fight for the 3rd position, he is still within that fight. Of course, it's I think it's a 30-point gap between Marco and Callum and Armed, and they're basically the 4 that are fighting for that final podium position in the championship. But Callum and Armed actually makes his way into the pits. So everybody is in the pits other than Ricardo, who's looking to try and get a lap out early than everybody else.
He just not want to get held up in the traffic, it seems, is Ricardo. And I'm surprised he hasn't set a valid lap yet, but it is very hard to get a lap properly. And he's been matching the likes of Lakitu and Craggy in practice. So I would expect him to get at least a top 5, but you never know with Ricardo. He did get, unfortunately, a penalty from the stewards last week due to him causing a collision with Kieran. I think he got another penalty for something else as well. So he's lost quite unfortunate places because of this. But let's watch Ricardo then, because he's one of the only drivers on that. Jonas Albrecht is also going out, and we got one of the Alpines, that's Barrett. He hasn't set a time that we think that is going to be good to climb up the order, so we'll see what he can do. Here comes Ricardo as he makes his way towards turn number 1. Does him going early going to benefit him? Well, I think it does, because obviously it's overcast now, and if he bottles it right now, at least he could... I think he's going a bit slower. Yeah, he is going slow. Yeah. Okay, so one of these going on a banker lap now and then pushing it later, but the soft tyres don't last long, so not the greatest strategy in my opinion, but I'm not the racer. They are.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he's not gone straight for it now, but I mean, again, up to him, I suppose. Try and get 1 lap done on the softs, maybe just try and warm them up properly before going for final laps. So it's going to be Jonas Albrecht will be the first person to complete their final laps. And again, an impressive P5 so far, splitting the 2 Williams guys as well. So I'm sure Jonas Albrecht's probably having a little bit of a nosebleed up in that top 5 at the moment. But again, that time could even come down even more. He could be into the 25s in about a minute and a half's time. So let's have a look and see. He makes his way up towards the finish line to start his final flying lap. A lot of other guys out as a pit as well, only 2 that aren't half furious, and well, there's some more as well. Oh, it's Oshin's AI, so yeah, of course, he retired in the pits as well. So it's just Furious who is not going on that final lap at the moment and probably won't be able to get a final lap on the board. So Jonas Albrecht coming through the very fast left to right, back to the left. You want to keep as far to the right as you possibly can to get the best running on that inside there. Go over that curve on the exit of there, and it's just under a 10th up on his timer. So Jonas Albrecht looking to make an improvement on his lap time here. DRS now wide open. He's keeping it in a hot lap as well, not using any overtake, but when it comes to this tight and twisty chicane section, he might want to try and jump that down to save some battery, as he's just coming up to that section now. About 33% of VRS left in his tank, so he may end up derating as it comes towards the end of the lap here. But coming through that chicane, he didn't take as much of that inside curve as he wanted, and the right curve as well, and he's had a massive tank chopper out of that. So 3.5 tenths down on Jonas Albrecht's time. He is not going to be making any improvement on here, Jess.
Nope, he is not going to make some improvements, sadly. So we'll move on to our next driver, who's on a lap, which I believe will be Barrett, as he goes through in towards the start of this straight. Furious will not set a lap time, but everybody else is going to try and improve to see if they can climb up as high as they possibly can. Barrett exits the last corner. Is he going to be enough to climb his way up through the field? The answer to that is no. He stays in a P12. We've got one of the Williams going up to the line. That's Marco. We'll see what he could do. He goes pole. Senna is up next. Can he find the time to beat Marco's time with a 125.4? Senna looking very tidy through the last corner. He took the shortest one possible, and it helped him. It helped him. We got Waity just came across the line in P8. We got, I think, Callum Unarmed, who's exiting the last corner now, and then there'll be Casper very soon, as Callum Unarmed goes 8th now, and Casper Klein goes and slots himself in at 10th. What about the 2 Aston Martins? Craggy's invalidated. Craggy has unfortunately invalidated his run. The Lakitu was helping him, but unfortunately he's invalidated, so it's just Jason and Curry in the middle of their laps. Then we'll watch Curry, Jason does not improve. Curry goes into the pits. So it is the hunter of Senna who's on pole position by 0.003 of a second. Wow.
Yeah, very impressive time from Senna, and again, under that pressure of not letting that championship slip away from him tonight, he obviously wants to try and push that to Spa, and he is doing, well, he's done a hard job at the moment, so now he's just got, well, he's done one or two hard jobs, he's now got to just try and keep that lead going in towards the, well, going into this race. But Craggy, all he needs to do, as he said, just finish in P9 or P8, and he's perfectly fine, and he's sitting in fourth at the moment. So Senna can do everything that he can to try and win the race, but he's got to hope that some luck will go his way with the guys behind him, and hope that they can get Craggy before the checkered flag, essentially. So yeah, but very nicely done for both Aston Martins. Third and fourth, they want to wrap up this constructors this evening.
Yes, I think Aston Martin, if they keep this up, then definitely the constructors is going to go their way. But we'll go through your results then from top to bottom. Senna with a superb lap along with Marco with a 1:25.4. Then we got Marco in second. Then less than a tenth behind is Lakita in third, Craggy fourth. Then is a big gap between the likes of Jonas Albrit. Nick had a good qualifying in sixth. Then we got Entity, Callum Unarmed, Lukey, Waity had a good qualifying. Then we got Casper, Ricardo, Curry, Barrett, Furious, Jason, Mike, and O'Sheen. And of course, Curry, Furious, and O'Sheen do have engine penalties. So they will be taking those ahead of this evening, and they will get either a 5 or 15 place grid penalty, depending if it's engine, gearbox, or both. And I think majority of them are taking both. But I think Senna would want the glory points at least, even if he may not win the championship tonight. An ideal scenario for Craggy is Senna to win the race, but Craggy to just about do enough to win the title, to have a bit of glory points there. Senna is going to hope something similar happened to P2, where the title pretty much leader bins it and did not score any points, and send Senna for him to be back in the title fight again. Anything can happen.
That is true. That is true. And I'm just going back towards when we was racing in Japan when it started raining. Craigie looked very handy on those intermediates. They were old intermediates. Him and Mike hit early and got the jump on the rest of the guys. But yeah, from what I remember, Craigie, even on those old intermediate tires, managed to hold on to second position. So I'm expecting him to do something very similar this evening and to be able to hold on up ahead of a few of the other guys on those wet tires, and I suspect we're gonna see him crowned in for this evening. But again, anything can happen in this race. It's wet weather, so safety cars could come into play. A lot of people, they're not going to be used to driving on the wet weather, so yeah, I do suspect we're going to see some very interesting action happen for this evening.
Yeah, I think we're going to see drivers I think a lot of people have nothing to lose. We got the fight for the championship. We got the fight for third. We got the fight for fifth. We got, I think, many fights for positions in the championship that everyone wants to kind of pretty much meet their pre-season goals for the rest of the most of the season. Because for some people, they're almost there. For some people, they're exceeding it. And for some people, they're nowhere near. And they just want to have a little bit of a fun in the final couple of races going into this as well. I'm just looking at people's goals for the last two races, and I'm saying Lukey is just all about having fun, which is fair enough. Like, if you're not fighting for anything, fair enough. Senna thinks that he is not going to win the title because his goal for the last two races is to keep second in the championship. Is Craggy's championship to lose? I'm a bit shocked about that, to be honest. I thought he'll be like, right, I'm fighting for the championship here, but he thinks that he can't win the title. But you never know what could happen. If you still win a chance to win the title, I would still go full guns blazing. Senna thinks that he can't.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's not the mentality you want to have with what Senna's just put. So, I suppose that's the reason why he thinks that Craigie is going to be the champion. Again, that's not the mentality you want to have if you're going for the championship. And I suppose he's, by saying that, he's essentially handed it over to Craigie. So, yeah, but he will still remain second position. I don't think he's got anything to worry about in terms of Marco or Lakita or Entity even catching him. I mean, he's got 37 points up ahead of Marco. he's on pole position and Marco's in second. So those two are probably fighting it out and by the end of tonight, I think it'll be Craggy champion, Senna second. They'll be confirmed. Just be the rest of the guys who's going to be the last one on the third step, basically. At the moment, it's looking like it's all but Marco, but again, I suppose only time will tell for this evening. And
Marco's good in the wet, though.
Next week. Yeah, so we'll see.
I hope it's going to be a close battle for P3 in the championship because, of course, you do not want to be the one that misses out on the trophy, but you could still get a prize even if you're outside the top 3 for the Go and Get Stuff award. So, you know, or everything's possible there. You get a free T-shirt in a way. So that is very, very good indeed. So I'm intrigued to see those final few races play out and let's see what they could do. Craggy and Senna, of course, were called into the rivalries this week because they were the 2 drivers that are in the title hunt, and they were both asked how have they found racing each other this season, and are we likely going to see fireworks in the final 2 races to maximise any chance of winning. And Craggy said the first half of the season was close. It could have gone either way. So thanks to Senna for making it a hard battle. From both me and him joining Kick Sauber midway through last season, that kicked off our rivalry. To us to be the 2 fighting for the season has been fun. Let's hope we can have some good races again in next year's game. I'm liking Craggy's rivalry answer. There were a few races where it got a bit heated up, but that just happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's racing in general. You know, when you're trying to sort of, well, when you think that you're going for an overtake and something happens, you at that point you don't think it's your fault until it's until after the race, once you've actually rewatched it back or had a look at what's happened, anything like that. Things can happen when you're racing. So yeah, I think they've kept it nice, cool, calm, and collected. It hasn't really been sort of like shouting matches from what I've seen in the P1 chat. Well, not from those two anyway, but yeah, there's not really been too much sort of aggravation between the pair of them. I say more so from other individuals.
Yes.
But, yeah, in terms of our actual championship protagonists, yeah, I don't think they've kept it nice, cool, and calm, and yeah, it's been a pretty good championship. But I think, as I say, I think it is going to be ending for this evening.
Yep. And if it does not end this evening, I'm going to be very, very shocked that it does not end this evening. So, but I think if it does, then Senna would have had to have drove in one of the best races of his life potentially as well. So I'm excited to see what they can do. The penultimate drivers press conference this week was brought to you by Nick. He was asked in the press office how his season has went overall for himself, and is he happy with his current points total, and how you found working alongside Lukey this season, and do you think you still have a chance of overturning the points difference between the two of you? Nick saying he's happy with the season because he won in Qatar. It was one of his highlights, and he had such good pace in most of the races, even in races where at the start of the week he was struggling. So overall, it's been a very rewarding season. I like that optimism, even though there's some races for him he felt like in his post-race interviews it didn't go well. But I do remember his Qatar race win. I was gutted you missed that, Jet, but it was one of his wins where I will remember that for quite a while. Actually, he was looking so strong all weekend. So yeah, I think Nick was looking. I think if Nick didn't get that win in Qatar, I think he would have probably had that answer very, very differently there with how his season has gone.
Yeah, I reckon so as well. And I mean, as you say, he can hold his head high because I mean I know we joke about him and Lukey being like the practice sweats, but at the end of the day, he's also got a lot of other stuff going on in real life as well. So he doesn't really have as much practice as what he'll sort of make out to be with him. So yeah, I think he to do what he's been doing so far this season, obviously also not only that, but running the league as well as, of course, yourself, of course, with Lukey, it's very difficult to try and be competitive in terms of that. And I mean, he's been pretty competitive. Like you say, he's won a race this season. He's been pretty decent in a couple of other races that I've seen as well. So yeah, I think he can hold his head up high, not only with just his season, but of course with how the league has run this season as well.
It's gone
Of course, we've
brilliantly.
still got this round and one more round. So, yeah, I think it's gone pretty well considering the circumstances of the game. So, yeah, I think he can be quite happy with how it's gone.
I think F124 has not been, I think, the ideal game for a lot of players. There's been less bugs, I got to admit, compared to F123, but for some people, the handling just didn't go well and for stuff like that, and they're glad to probably see the back of it. And to be fair, for both seasons to have 2 tiers is absolutely remarkable, and that's mainly due to the work of Nick for really trying to get a lot of these drivers to sign up. Hopefully we can get 3 tiers next season. That will be amazing if we could get 3 tiers. Apparently, I've been looking at the gameplay for F125, I think the deep dives, and the graphics look a lot better than F124, so I'm hoping that translates to the gameplay and the handling itself. I hope it's a lot better. I hope we get more players. We don't know, but we are about to get ready. The drivers are going to be readying up. We will go through your sponsors in just a moment. But before we go through our sponsors, Jack, for one final time, because spoiler alert, you're not going to be here next week. Who's your top 3 for the race? Of course, you're going to go with Craggy for the win, but who's your P2 and P3?
I think P2, I reckon Monaco will get second, and I think Senna will get third. It's a bit of a boring podium, but I think they've just been the best 3, to be honest with you. And I think that's how it's going to be this evening. I think it's, I say they've been the best 3. They're top 3 in the championship for a reason. I think that's the order. I think Craggy wins, Marco second, Senna third.
Yeah, I'm still going to stick with Callum for the win, because I did say that I predicted Callum for the win, and I'm going to not back down of that. I'm going to go with Craggy P2 and Marco P3, and Senna will just be in 4th. So that's my prediction. Let us know your predictions in the chat. Massive shout out to Vespertine, who's in the chat. Colin as well, that was joking about Lukey earlier as well. Lukey saying he was disappointed with that. His PB of lap would have been 5th place, so he must have made a mistake on the last lap. So, and also massive shout out to everyone else who's in the chat as well. But before we go into the main action, we'll go through our sponsors. Next Level Racing, they've been providing prizes since around season 12, season 13, and these are the prizes that have been won in the past, and some of our drivers could win this season. More to be confirmed soon. Also, a massive shout out to our partners at Vespertine, who provide a 10% discount off all their products. You can use the code 1HR10P to get 10% off on all Pure Sim Gear products. And there's also a prize for the winner for the most combined poles and fastest laps. They will win a pair of Pure Sim Gear gloves, also known as the Speedster Award. Then we got our partners Vespertine, who's in the chat, who are supporting our championship apparel. One of the prizes are a Racer Dream t-shirt for the winner of the Going Gets Tough Award. And all they need to do is attend all races during the season, complete all pre- and post-race interviews, and finish outside the top 3. Another prize from Vespertine, if the winner of the 100 Racing Driver Rankings will win themselves a Pulse Leader Premium t-shirt. I think it's going to be close between our 2 P1 drivers, to be fair, but I don't know who's going to win out of the pair of them. We'll have to wait and see. And finally, to our partners at SimGrid. Without SimGrid, we'll be using Google Forms or Google Sheets to do our standings or sign-ups, and we wouldn't want that. And it also allows drivers to withdraw from the race, and it saves people having to DM the coordinators saying that they can't make it. So thank you to all our sponsors for this season so far, and without that, the league could not happen. We're about to get underway, and I think all the drivers will be starting on the full wet tyres, and there's going to be some standing water out there, just like in real life.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it, and you can just see from the rain it is almost treacherous. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me that we're going to be seeing pretty much everybody starting on a set of the wet compound tyre. As soon as we get the go-ahead, we'll be able to confirm that. But, I mean, just looking at the weather, it looks like it is just hammering it down. So, yeah, I won't be at all surprised if everyone's on the set of the wets. Yeah, it's just see how they're able to try and handle those conditions, handle the wet tyres, and see, who will be the one that comes out on top for this evening. I mean, as I say, we've got our predictions in with that, and we'll see if anybody else in the chat does make any sort of predictions with who's coming out on top.
Yep, we're going to have to find out, of course, on who is going to be winning the race and who's going to be claiming the title. We're gonna have to find out. Will we find out by the end of this evening, or will we find out by the end of next week in Belgium? Only time will tell, and I think the drivers have been told to ready up, and we will have a prediction from Colin in the chat as well, of course, our P2 commentator. I would love to see Colin racing with us next season, so please, Colin, I would love to see you in the hot seat next season. So his top 3 prediction: P1, he's gone for Senna, which, to be fair, is a safe prediction. But we know Senna is good in the wet, and of course, Colin is ERT, so not really that surprising. Second is Callum, so he's going on the Callum hype train as well as me. Interesting. And third, he's gone for Craggy. So he's gone for similar to me, apart from I predicted Marco. So that's Colin's predictions. We're about to get underway. The standing water is crazy right now. Everybody is on the wet tyres, which is fair enough, because if anyone is on the inters, please don't, because you'll be 2 seconds a lap slower.
Yeah, not surprising that everyone's on a set of the wet tyres. So, yeah, I think we'll see who will be the one that comes out on top. Like I say, I think it's in the wet, it's very difficult to overtake. So I don't expect it to be a lot of overtakes. In terms of mistakes, however, I think we'll probably see quite a few of those this evening if people haven't really done that much practice, as you were saying at the start of the stream. So I think we'll probably be seeing quite a few mistakes. At that point, that is where we'll be seeing the overtakes go down. So I think that's what's going to be a bit of an interesting one. Yeah, again, just as to who comes out on top with making the least amount of mistakes for this evening will be the one that they'll fry from that the most, especially in these conditions.
Yeah. I mean, I think the drivers that have the most experience, they can potentially change their differential and their wings to suit the wet conditions, and then they can change it back to suit the dry conditions. So will we see drivers having completely wet setups, or will we see drivers go for a mixture of the two, or will we see drivers change as the session goes on, because you can change your front wing, brake bias and differential. So they all make their way towards the final few corners. Senna will be starting on pole position, just like what we saw in the sprint race last time, well, yesterday with Antonelli. And of course, it didn't go well as he went into T1, but we'll see how he does tonight, of course, in third position. The real-life Grand Prix is straight after this at 9 p.m. UK time. So you get to see a little bit of this, and then you get to the real-life Miami as well. But one advantage of this, at least we can get racing, because, of course, the drivers are skilled enough to race in the wet conditions. But since you're not here next week, Jaco, over to you to do the start.
Certainly will. So, penultimate race of the season. Our champion could be crowned for this evening. One of the rivals up on first, the other one sitting right behind him. Is it going to be Senna being able to push it to next week? Is Craggy going to be able to take it for this evening? We have got the 5 red lights on for the penultimate round of season 26 of One Hub Racing. And we are underway. Craggy getting an amazing start. Senna not exactly having the best of starts out of a lot of them, but is managing to hold on to this lead in towards turn 1. Lakitu trying to see if he can squeeze it up the inside on Senna, but not able to do so. Craggy just happy to sit behind and maybe even try and sweep it around the outside of his teammate. He certainly does. A bit of a slide though from Craggy, but manages to take second position off of his teammate, and there's been a bit of a spinner towards the back end. I think Jason's just dropped down a couple of positions and sort of hitting the back of Furious, but other than that, they've all come away quite cleanly. Marco has dropped down to the back of the field, right behind Curry, so they're going to be battling quite hard with each other. Lukey getting a move done on Entity. In fact, they're both side by side as they made their way through the sweeping left-hander. Entity holding it around the outside of that sweeping left-hander and manages to get a position of Lukey as a little bit further up in front. Jonas Olbrook is trying to go for the move on Lakitu. He wants to get on that podium as Craggy gets the move done on Senna for the race lead, but they're both still racing around side by side as they make their way up towards the tight and twisty chicane. They're both still side by side of each other. The two championship rivals not giving an inch to each other in that one, and Senna retains the lead on that one. But Jonas Olbrook moves his way up into third position. Lakitu's dropped down to fourth through second in this lap, Jess.
Lakitu's struggling in these wet conditions as Jonas Olbrook has had a bit of a tank slapper going into the back straight there, and we can see who's made of the right stuff today. I know in Jeddah Jonas did very well in the wet conditions, so really, it's not surprising to him seeing the top 5, but 3rd place, that is really, really impressive. So we'll see what he could do for the rest of this one as they're about to start lap number 2 of 29. And Senna doing very well, just about to hold on to the race lead from Craggy. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the permutations as they continue, of course. No matter where Senna finishes, as long as Craggy finishes 9th or better, then Craggy will win the title for season 26 and will become our first champion this season. Of course, the P2 drivers title will be decided next week between the 2 Mercedes drivers. The constructors was decided tonight as well. I think I'm almost certain the constructors for P1 will be decided tonight too, as Craggy has got a brilliant entry into the next few corners in towards this straight. Of course, no DRS. Everyone seems to be sliding all over the place, it seems. But we'll watch Craggy as he makes his way down this tight, really tight straight. He's going to go all the way to the right-hand side. They both try and leave as much space as they possibly can. Senna trying to be the first of the late breakers, and Senna is going to be trying to defend for his life for P1. But Craggy, well, one of them's got to concede, because otherwise there could be contact. As, oh, there was a slight bit of contact being made, but Senna holds on to the lead.
Trying to go side by side through that chicane, not going to be the best idea. I've only known one person to ever, or 2 people to ever do that. Ironically, I'm one of them, and Awasi was the other one, so that's not something that you want to try and do. But Craggy is now back down into 3rd position, and Jonas Albrecht, I think, is trying to support a party of the Aston Martin, as Callum and Arm trying to also go up the inside of Lakitu in towards the hairpin. Lakitu, I think, is going to have the better traction on makes it, but I say that he has a massive slide out of that corner, and Callum and is now trying to see if he can put any pressure onto the Aston Martin next to him as well. Casper setting the fastest lap of the race as they make their way down towards turn 1. Lakitu's going to hold it down the inside, and I think he's going to hold off the Welshman just for the time being, but Callum and looking very, very racy behind the German. And not only that, Lukey has also joined the fray as well. So I think the keys is becoming a little bit of a barrier for those top 3. The top 3 have completely run away from it, and he's almost out of a second of those guys, so he's not going to pick up the slipstream, or it's not going to be as effective as what they're going to have behind the German as well. So yeah, I think he's becoming a little bit of a blocker for the rest of those guys. Everyone else down below Keita, all the way down to Ira and Mike, within this sort of train as well. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jess, I'm really impressed with how Jonas Albrecht's running so far in this race.
Yep, he is, and he's struggling. Oh, well, Lakitu is struggling behind him, and Jonas is just loving life at the moment, and he's already closing up to Craggy. I don't think any of us would have predicted Jonas Albrecht to be your top 3. Marco does try and get past Furious up into 14th. Jason is fighting with Waitsy for 10th position as well. And actually, I've just seen in the chat, going side by side, it was actually you, J. Cole, and Colin as well, who went side by side. What track, Colin, may I ask? I can't remember what track you went side. What season it was you went side by side. It will be interesting to know, Cole. But anyway, we got Jason going side. Well, Jason and Waitsy going side by side into the last corner. You don't want to be the last of the late breakers there, because otherwise there could be issues. Jason up into 10th place, and that was job done from the Alpine driver. Craggy said the fastest lap of this race, and the top 2 remaining line astern right now, and I think if I was those 2, I would keep it very cautious as Jason gets past Waitsy again. Waitsy trying to go side by side. Both of them just had a bit of a tank slap of their 3-2.
Oh, yeah, Jason goes very wide out of there. Waitsy almost hitting the wall as well. Again, a massive tank slapper from him, but he gets the move done on Jason. I think he did give a little bit of a tap to the Alpine, though, but I don't think it hindered the Alpine too much and sort of ended up losing it ever so slightly more on his own, which caused Waitsy to get back past him. And I think Waitsy has just given that position back to Jason as he felt it might have been his fault. So yeah, fair play to Waitsy for that one. But now he's going to try and get it done on the track as Craggy has got the move done on Senna for the race lead. So Craggy now in the hot seat at the front of the pack and is going to try and drive off from the rest of those guys behind him. But of course, Jonas Albrecht all over the back of Senna as well. And then about a second and a half down the road is Lakitu with the rest of those guys. Waitsy now getting the move done on Jason. They're both still side by side with each other. But Oshin looking at this battle behind them as well, and I think Jason gets that move back done on Waitsy. So Waitsy's trying he's trying anything he can to get this move done on Jason, and is just unfortunately not able to get anything done. Ocean now also pushing Wasey through that chicane, and I think the Irishman's just going to be quite happy sitting behind Wasey for the time being, but Jason now 2 seconds adrift from those guys that are all being led by Lakitu. In fact, as I say that, Lakitu, he's caught up to the top 4, and there's a few people coming in it's already.
O'Sheen's got the move done on Waitsy, as we're seeing pictures already, yes. Not surprising, because I think we've seen something similar in what we saw in practice. So Waitsy comes in, Jonas comes in, so's Lakitu. Let's hope they selected Inters. I don't know. I thought it would have been end of this lap, not now. But you can see there's less standing water. I think, personally, it's a lap too early.
I think it's a lap too early as well from the looks of things. So, yeah, Jonas Albrecht, Lakitu and Waitsy all on their set of the intermediate tyres. Jonas Albrecht was running in 3rd. Are we going to see him maybe at the end of this lap or the next lap potentially run at the front of the pack and look for his first race win this evening? That's quite baffling to say, because it'll be his first podium as well in this season, and it might be his first race win in P1. So, again, only time will tell with that, as Oshin trying to go for the move on Jason, making their way towards the tight and twisty chicane. Jason's going to go defensive on the inside. The Irishman maybe trying to look at getting a switch back on the Alpine. Not going to be able to do so as Ricardo also getting past Barry getting past Ricardo, both side by side. A little bit of wall banging between the pair of them for that 11th and 12th spot. Barry has to just yield the position and sitting down in 12th position.
Oh my
Marco,
goodness.
by the way, up into 10th after his engine penalty.
Yeah, Marco's. I don't think Marco did have an engine penalty. Oh, I can't remember. I literally can't remember. Oh yeah, we did, didn't I? It's been a long season. There's so much that's happened. We got pit stops, and the first of our leaders has come in. Senna as well. Callum, Lukey. Entity stayed out, of course, and we got Casper that stayed out, of course, to help his teammate. We'll see, because obviously Jonas Albrecht is going to be the leader of the intermediate runners, so we'll see if they gained an advantage. There's hardly any standing water out on the circuit. I think it would have been a lap too early for them, but we will see what happens. Jonas Albrecht makes his way in towards the first corner, and Jonas Albrecht is your net race leader. Not anymore. Oh, he's hit the wall.
Oh, for Jonas Albrecht, that was looking so promising for him, and I think he was real happy that he saw he went past Senna, got a bit too excited, and now he's got himself some front right end plate damage. Oh, what a...
He was doing so well.
For Jonas Albrecht. Yeah, he was a net race leader, like you say. He would have jumped up ahead of Craggy as well. He would have been our race leader after all of the pit stops, but now that has gone back to Senna. Lakitu has also gotten past the Haas driver, but it's still not over. We have seen people with that front right end plate damage or with end plate damage in the wet. They can still be pretty competitive, so I won't be surprised if Jonas Albrecht does manage to stay ahead of a few of the drivers, but I do suspect he will be dropping back behind a few of these guys probably within the next coming laps. But yeah, Senna is the one now our net race leader. 3.5 seconds Craggy is up ahead of Entity. So Craggy, I'm assuming we'll be seeing him coming at the end of this lap, or the rest of the guys on the wet, shall I say, will be making their way into the pits at the end of this lap. The only problem for a couple of the drivers, they will be double stacking the likes of Entity and Marco and Ricardo and Curry. But yeah, I suspect that we'll be seeing the rest of these guys on these wets coming at the end of this lap, as Beret is going to try and race Furious in towards the pit.
Oh, as we're seeing one of the kick salvers of Curry, lost it a little bit there in the final corner. Most people are struggling on these wet conditions, so Craggy's going to come out, and you can see the Inters are already faster, and they're going to get a massive undercut on the Craggy then, as we can see here goes, oh no, Craggy is ahead. I just saw the other drivers ahead, and I thought it was Lakitu and Senna. But here comes Craggy down the inside, in towards turn 5 and 6. It helped that Craggy had a clean air to start with in the final lap on those wet tyres. So that's helped him. Whereas like the likes of obviously Senna and Lakitu had to try and get past Jonas Albrecht and lots of other cars. So I think the overcut has worked for Craggy because he had some clear air and he just generally had the pace. So as it stands, Craggy is doing more than enough to secure the title, and he's around about 1.2 seconds clear of his championship rival as the Keto trying to get past Senna, but Senna's liking no thank you. Could it be free wide heading towards the crest section? Callum Unarmed is not going to give up without a fight as they try and go side by side. Another people that's trying to go side by side. Callum Unarmed is through. Callum Unarmed is onto the podium.
Very nicely worked from Callum there, just to sort of give a bit of a squeeze to Lakitu through that chicane as well. And now Craggy getting past Berry, so he's put another wet runner in between himself and his championship rival of Senna. Craggy doing a very good job at the moment on these intermediate tyres, as Berry almost going into the back of the championship leader, as Callum Anand also trying to put pressure on Senna for second position now as well. He looks so much more confident as he taps the side of Senna. Hopefully he didn't get himself any wing damage, and they're both still hitting each other, giving a little bit of wheelbang, and I think they're both having a few tank slappers and unfortunately just hitting each other in the process of that. Senna is going to hold on to second position, but Lakitu now looking to see if he can sniff anywhere of potentially getting up ahead of both Callum Arand and Senna. I say hopefully both of them didn't pick up any damage from that, because again it was just a bit of a mistake that they both made with each other and hit both of each other. So yeah, hopefully nothing, no wing damage or anything, as Callum Arand's now trying to sweep it down the inside of the fast left-hander coming on towards one of the main DRS straights, and is not going to go for any sort of move. Senna's going to hold on to it for now, but he's using that overtake. Callum Arand wants this move done as soon as possible because he feels like he's getting held up by Senna. He's now going to sweep it around the outside. I'm going to have the outside for the next corner, and I think Senna is just going to give that one up. As I say that, yeah, he does give that one up. So Callum Arand now in the second position, 2 seconds behind Craggy. Your pick, Jess, is looking very, very good at the moment, because Callum Arand, I think, is probably the fastest driver on track at the moment.
Yeah, he is, and he took the crest very nicely, actually. And I think every race he has driven in the wet on this game, in 100 racing this season, he has been amazing. So people would think, oh, Jess, it was a bold call. He has just been looking so quick, and he's already trying to close in on Craggy. But Senna's not going to give up without a fight either. And one other driver that's doing very well is Lukey. He's in 5th at the moment, and he's still within this train. I could tell he's done a lot of practice. It did take a while for him to find an optimal setup, but he has put in the practice, and it is definitely showing right now. And even if he gets a strategy right, then he could be on for a podium or even a race win. So it's not out the cards yet. So what Callum has got to do is try and close in on Craggy and bring this train along, because Craggy may not be as comfortable. We never know, but Craggy's on the newer tyre, so he should be goldmine right now. Honestly, this has been a great race in the wet conditions. I've been so impressed by all these drivers for keeping it to be relatively clean. I was expecting a safety car by now, but touch wood, we haven't got any at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have any sort of safety cars to nullify the race and give everybody basically a second free pit stop. So yeah, but at the moment, Craggy 1.8 seconds now up ahead of Callum Arand. Senna is also doing quite well following him as well. NT and Jonas are both side by side. Jonas is trying to hold it down the inside, but NT have the outside. NT then gets the inside for the next corner, and I think he's managed to hold his nose around there for as long as he could, and had that inside for the next corner. Of course, with Jonas's damage as well has meant that it made his NT's job a lot easier to get past the Haas driver. Again, so unfortunate for Jonas picking up that or for hitting the wall in the end, and of course picking up that wing damage. Hopefully he gets that fixed on his next pit stop and can then try and push his way back through the field and get a bit more competitive with those guys out in front of him. But in fact, as I say that, I thought he might have even been trying to look down the inside of NT going into the hairpin, but no. Is happy to just sort of sit there for the moment as well. Marco, just a little bit further down below, he's actually gotten up ahead of Oshin as well, so he's now up into 9th position trying to chase down Casper and setting the fastest lap off the race as well. So Marco looking pretty handy in these wet conditions, as Oshin picks up a 3-second time penalty. Both of them actually are looking pretty good in these wet conditions. Of course, both had engine penalties and started at the back of the grid, and they've moved up into 9th and 10th, whereas Curry, who also started with the engine penalty, unfortunately still sitting down in 17th position at this current moment.
Well, of course, the drivers do not know about the weather until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they have to submit their engine penalty the day before. So this has probably worked out very well with these drivers. at the back, as Casper had a bit of a tank stop, but that's going to invite Marco to try and go for the move in towards the back straight. And I think it's going to be easy pickings for the Williams driver, and these positions can mean anything for the fight for third in the Drivers' Championship. And that was crucial pickings for him as we're on about to start lap 11 of 25. Gap coming down between Craigie and Callum on arms. 1.3 seconds between the top two. Callum has broke free of Senna, but you could see Lakitu and Lukey having a little battle, as well as Lakitu and Senna. This is going to be very, very interesting as we head towards the latter stages of this Grand Prix. I would say about 11 or 12 laps of these wet conditions before people should start to go on to the dry tyres, most likely the mediums, but we may see some brave people try and go for the softs, but I wouldn't advise it because it doesn't last that long. So here comes the Keto. I don't think he's going to get past Senna. Nope, he is not. We're seeing some close battles out there, but a lot of people just finding their rhythm out there. No one seems to be having some major moments, but we are seeing pretty much the top 10 being close to each other, but everyone else just finding their feet a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, again, at the start of the race, Lakitu was the one that was being a bit of a cork in the bottle for the guys behind him. Now we're seeing Senna being that, and Lakitu trying to put the pressure onto the Mercedes out in front of him as Casper picks up 3-second time penalty as well. But yeah, Lakitu, he's looking very racy at the moment, and I think he's looking to see if he can go for a move on Senna. He's using that overtake in the ZRS. Senna's also going to try and see if he can go a bit defensive on the German. Lakitu's going to try and hold it around the outside for this corner. He's going to then have the inside for the next corner, but has he done enough to get alongside him? No, he has not. So Senna shuts the door, keeps that third position for the time being. This is inviting Lukey and Entity to try and put a bit of pressure on these guys. And Marco also all over the back of Jonas Olbrich. So he's up into 8th, and he's now looking to try and put the pressure on for 7th position. Jonas Olbrich going well over that curb on the inside of that crest part as well. And yeah. But again, Lakitu, he's trying to get that move done on Senna. Senna goes all the way over to the left-hand side to then come back onto the normal racing line. Lakitu does break a bit early, a little bit of lifting, coasting on those intermediate tyres against the Mercedes out in front of him, just to preserve his tyres a bit more, probably preserve a bit of fuel, because I suspect a lot of these guys would have underfueled their cars to oblivion, especially in these wet conditions.
Yep. I could speak for myself. I underfueled by quite a margin, and I still had loads of fuel left at the car, and I should have underfueled a bit more. So I won't be surprised if some people would have underfueled by a lap as well, or maybe just less than half a lap. If you don't underfuel the car, I think you're going to be in a spot of bother, really, to be honest, as the sun is trying to peep out a little bit, and the key to just sliding quite a bit everywhere, which is not helping him a little bit. That's helped Lukey to gain a bit of speed, but we can see Entity that's gained even more speed on Lukey. Here he comes then, and I think he's going to get a lot of traction compared to Lukey on the straight, and I think Lukey's struggling a little bit. The Entity, remember, is on the newer tyres. Through goes Entity, and he keeps on P5 maybe, but Lukey's not going to give up without a fight. Again, still people trying to go side by side, but Lukey backs out, understandably. Lukey drops down into 6th. Entity is down up into 5th place, now chasing Lakitu and Senna for position right now. And look at this, Jack. Callum is chasing down Craigie for the race lead.
Yeah, he's just looking lightning quick at the moment, is Callum Armed, and I think we might see a move in the next couple of laps on the Aston Martin. And I don't think Craigie's going to be too disappointed with that as long as he's ahead of Senna. I think he'll be quite content with that, but at the same time, he probably wants to win the championship by winning this evening, so he may not give that one up without a fight on the Welshman of Callum Armed. But again, that just could invite, like in a P2 tier, the championship to then go to the next round, to the final round, should I say. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, Callum Armed, he's looking a lot racier than what Craigie is out in front of him. Look at the ERS comparison as well. Craigie has been using that to try and get away from Callum Armed. Callum Armed, he's sat on 100% of VRS, so he's not really pushing as much as Craigie is at the moment. So Callum, lightning quick in these wet conditions at the moment, as well as both of the Williams. Marco's gotten past Jonas Olbrich, already gapped him by 1.2 seconds. Entity all over the back of Lakitu, and Lakitu was putting that pressure on Senna, but I think Lakitu's got to start looking behind him because Entity is all over the back of him. I'm pretty sure Entity is the one that's holding the fastest lap at the moment as well.
Yeah, I think so as well. The Williams, I have to say, been looking great all race so far. So fair play to both of them. Ricardo, by the way, has got past Jason up into 12th. So a battle for the final points being played for that regard as well. Surely they would have wanted to have a much better race in that perspective. Senna trying to close the gap, but he's struggling a little bit between to close the gap to Callum Arms and Craggy. So I think all that it stands between Callum and Craggy for this race win is for them to try and keep it conservative. But I know Callum could push it just a little bit more. But I think for some drivers, they would rather just pretty much switch positions with each other every so often, make sure that they could keep up the pace and then save their ERS, which I think is what Callum Arms is definitely doing. I have seen some more moves being made in the background as the Keto has been put under pressure from Entity, and Entity's through on Lakitu, but for how much longer? Lakitu is going to go side by side again for turns 2 and 3, but Entity's like, nope, I'm having P4 and I'm going to have that sit, thank you. So Entity through into 4th.
Yeah, I think he's looking very good for 3rd position at the moment, is Entity, and he's got to try and now get past, of course, the other championship rival of Senna out in front of him. And Callum and on, look at this. He is so close to the back of Craggy. He's not using the ERS, though. Callum, use the ERS. Get the move done. You've got this pace, evidently. But I think he's happy just sitting behind the Aston Martin for the time being. And, yeah, I think Callum is just going to sit behind Craggy. But the thing is that all the engine braking and all the lifting and coasting that he's doing can invite those guys behind him, and especially with the pace that Entity's going at the moment, I think Entity might end up closing out on these top 2, and could. I think Callum may then need to start looking behind him rather than in front of him. As there's yellow flags, there's Casper out of the chicane. Oh, sorry, just before the chicane. Sorry, must have had some sort of moment. I know him and Oshin were both battling quite hard on that last lap, so I wonder if they both had a bit of contact with each other.
Yes, I wonder as well. He's having a bit of a tank stopper right now. He's probably going to hope for a safety car to kind of change things up a bit. But yeah, a bit of a shame for Casper there. We are halfway into this race. Make sure you do leave this stream a like if you are liking it on Twitch. Hopefully we'll stay on Twitch this time. If you're watching this back on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and hit that bell if you are new. Wait till you just get past Casper. So I wonder if Casper has picked up some sort of damage, as Casper has had a bit of a moment again, and he's going to probably dive it in to the pit lane for some new set of enters, I think, or just to repair the damage he's got. I'm almost certain he's got damage on his car.
Yeah, there is that potential. I thought he might have maybe just retired from the session, but no, he's chuffing on another set of intermediate tyres. So he's going on fresh inters, may try and push those to the end depending on when the rain does stop. But yeah, he's just going to sit on some fresh intermediate tyres, which I suspect we'll see Casper set the fastest lap of the race in the next couple of laps as well. But yeah, look at this. Entity, look how close he is to the back of Senna. He's managed to drag the rest of those guys along all the way up to the back of the Mercedes. And now Senna's going to try and put a bit more, or is going to try and push a bit more to catch up to those guys out in front. But Entity, I was saying Callum looks like he's the fastest on the track at the moment. I think Entity now is the one that is showing he is the fastest on the track, and we might even see an overtake go down in towards the hairpin. Entity is using his ERS to try and go for this move. Senna goes over towards the left-hand side to just get a bit more wetness on his tyres, and Entity already through before reaching the apex of the hairpin, up into 3rd position now. Surely that's now going to give a kick up the bum for Callum and Arm to try and go for a move on Craggy now.
Yeah, I think Callum has got to realise that Entity's one of the fastest drivers on track, and Callum's going to think, right, if I want to go for the race win, I've got to push now. I can't afford to be conservative. I've got to be aggressive in order to make sure Entity does not have a sniff. And when it gets to dry conditions, if he's being too conservative, as we got another yellow flag, that's Furious out of the race, and he's binned in the final corner. Let's just see if we can go on board. He's been it just off the track, it seems. So, or just by the pit. So that was hard to say, but hopefully that wasn't a rage quit. But because it was pretty much off the circuit, that's why there's no safety car.
I can't confirm that was a rage quit. He did break his front wing and then retired from the race there and then, because I just saw his car moving as he at the final corner. So, yeah, I think unfortunately that was a bit of a rage quit from him. But yeah, very unfortunate for Furious retiring out of the session. From that, Ricardo and Jason both side by side as they're making their way up towards the tight and twisty chicane as well, as there's more yellow flags. That is either Spin Mike living up to his legendary name and having a nice little spin out of that long left-hander to come onto the long or to the long sort of straight or the long DRS straight, shall I say, as Jason gets that move back done on Ricardo, and Marco now going for the move on Lukey down the back straight and gets that move done. Williams is now up into third and sixth position for both Marco and Entity, and Marco is eyeing up the key to already as well, 3.5 tenths behind the Aston Martin. Wants to get this move done on the German ASAP. Don't think we're going to see it towards turn one, but on that next long straight, I think we might see some moves go down here, Jess.
Yep, I think we can. This is going to be a great fight for the battle of the final podium positions, and we can really start to see who has been made of the right stuff, who has got the guts to go for it really, and who has got the guts to pretty much be the guinea pig to try and go for the strategy. As you can see, pretty much it's at a point where the track's drying up, which means the rears get hot, and it's not good for any tyres. So you've really got to manage it effectively. There'll be some drivers that will be struggling, there'll be some drivers that will be loving life. So I think everyone just got to find their way to manage these tyres. They can't afford to be pushing the rears too much, because that's where they're going to go into a little bit of a slide, because I think it was lap 5, lap 6 people pitted in from wets to inters, and it's lasted about 10 laps. And ideally, if it was a full inters race, they probably would have pitted by now onto another set of the inters. But since obviously it's going to dry up, they're going to have to wait until it dries up for that. And who knows, we could see an inevitable safety car as Senna trying to heat up the tyres a little bit, because the fronts are getting a bit cold for him, as I think Lakito is going to try and just sit behind for now from Senna. But as it stands, I believe the constructors will be decided tonight with Aston Martin, and that'll be very well deserved for Aston Martin. Lukey does get past Marco, because Marco's in the pits.
Oh, I was just looking at that. Marco coming into the pit. So I don't know if he's going early on a dry tyre or if he's going on another set of intermediates. Let's have a quick look. He's going on another set of inters. So Marco's doing his second stop now. It's a bit risky, because if a safety car comes out, he's utterly screwed, because he's going on those fresh intermediate tyres. Everybody else will then get that free pit stop. He made all that progress up, but if it does get dry at the end of the session here, then Justin, I think he's made a massive mistake. If it doesn't get dry for whatever reason, then I think Marco making a bit of a strategy masterclass call. Same with Casper, if that's the case. I
really do hope that maybe it doesn't dry up that much, so maybe they could make a masterclass of a strategy. And to be fair, with the weather set to approximate, it may not come. The rain might not come as expected. Not the rain. It may not dry up as expected, as what we saw in P2. It may just take a long time for the rain just to ease off, and that's probably what they asked their engineer. As Zuki's got a 3-second time penalty, he's probably going to be kicking himself after that, as Nick and Jason does get past Ricardo. Ricardo made a little bit of a tank sapper, unfortunately. We're about to start lap 19. The rain's still coming down thick and fast here at the Miami International Autodrome. It is Craggy that leads, from Calaman, from Entity, from Senna, from Lakito, from Lukey, from Jonas Albrecht, still holding on to 7th place, and he's still sliding everywhere, struggling a little bit. O'Sheen doing a great job in 8th place, Nick in 9th, Jason in 10th, Ricardo in 11th, and Marco, as it stands, he will get the final points paying position, and he's doing well just to hold on to that train. Will that advantage that he has on those fresh inters really come back to help him a little bit as we're starting these next set of laps here in Miami? But I'm surprised that the rain's still coming down hard. I was expecting for it to dry out now.
Yeah, it is still coming down pretty hard, isn't it? So, yeah, I think we're going to see inters at the very least until lap 22, lap 23, if it does stop raining very soon. But Yeah, I think at the moment, Marco making a very good call to go on a fresh set of inters. And look at this as well. From ninth downwards, he's already joined the back of the train. He was 2 seconds at the start of this lap behind all of these guys. He's now caught up to this train, and I think he's going to try and get a bit racy with the rest of these guys out in front of him. You've got Ricardo, you've got Jason, you've got Nick, all in front of the Williams. And Jason's trying to go around the outside of Nick to have the inside line for that next corner. Not going to be able to do that. Nick does shut the door on him, but look at Marco. He's trying any way he can to find a gap in front of those guys. I think we might just see him maybe just plow on his overtake button on this next straight, but he just needs a better exit after a lot of these guys, and I think he's definitely got it. So yeah, there goes the overtake button. He wants to try and get this move done on all of these guys, but Ricardo also seeing he can go from with Jason using that overtake button as well, but he's got barely any ERS to his name. Marco looking to see if he can go for a move, going on that left-hand side of the track, not going to go for anything at the moment, trying to cool down his tyres. I think a few guys might start to consider a potential of going on dry tyres, because even though it is still raining, I think their tyres are getting a little bit more cooked as Ricardo now under pressure from Marco. Marco swooping it around the outside of the final corner, has the outside of the first corner, Ricardo down the inside of the first corner, but then Marco will then have the inside for the second corner, which then allows him to go for the move and get past the kick Sauber. As Marco has a bit of a tank slapper, he now wants to try and cover off from the other kick Sauber out in front of him as he's trying to go for the move on Jason, but Jason closed the door on the Williams in front of him as well. And I think Marco is just going to have to sit behind these guys for now. He's managed to get one of them done. He's now going to try and go for another one very, very shortly. As we see, Jess, one person has made the move to the dry tyres.
I think Casper had no other choice, as you were saying, but I think it's too early. It's still raining and it's still damp on the circuit, but he probably may have forgotten to switch on to winters, we don't know. Or he may hope for a safety car, which could still happen, but you can see he's crawling. Yeah, it is nowhere near dry tyres, but it's not raining.
Yeah, so the rain has already stopped, and now we're going to see or wait and see when it does end up going to dries, as the Keto goes very deep in towards the hairpin centre, is then going to try and go for that move back on the German and gets back up into 4th position. The Keto trying to put that pressure onto the Mercedes out in front of him, and is not going to be able to hold on to that position. Marco also trying to go down the inside of Nick in towards the hairpin as well. Nick, I think, is just going to have to give up on that one, especially with Marco's fresh tyres. And Oshie now into the pits. I wonder if we're going to start to get the calls for everyone to come in to go on a set of the dry tyres. Oshie in, Jason's in, Waits, he's making his way in. So yeah, I think we're going to start to see a lot of guys put on dry tyres on this lap here, Jess.
I wonder, I think you made the call. You made the call, which was around lap 21, 22. But the question is, what tyres are going to go on? Jason's gone for sauce, which I don't know why. Mediums, I think, is the best call for Oshie and Waitsy and Casper. Casper's got nothing to lose at this point, but the benefit that he's going to have is his tyres are going to be cooler, and that means that he can last his tyres for a little bit longer. So we're now going to see who's better in the dry than the wet. Have they got the knowledge to change the front wing so they could have much lower downforce than in the wet conditions? We will find out in about 9 laps time. Just a reminder, if Craggy finishes 9th or better, there is nothing that Senna could do. Craggy would be your season 26 champion. If anything changes, which is unlikely, of course, we'll keep you updated as they crawl towards the last corner. I think some people will brave it out and stay out, but Craggy is going to come in. Everyone comes in.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Senna's the one that's actually stayed out, interestingly enough. So Senna is carrying on those intermediate tyres. I wonder if he's going to be staying out and keeping on these inters to the end of the race, because they're not a bad race tyre, even in the dry
He needs to make his second stop.
It's just going to be very hot. Yeah, so... Oh, no, I think he makes a second stop. Okay, maybe not then. So, yeah, I don't know why he didn't follow him with the rest of those guys, which is very surprising. So... yeah, I think we're going to see the one that probably could stay out, though, could potentially be Marco. He has made that second stop on those intermediates. So maybe, just maybe, he will be the one that stays out on those intermediate tyres. He is in technically the net race lead at the moment, but with the rest of the guys being on out the dry tyre, I suspect we're going to see him get overtaken pretty quickly from the guys that are on the mediums and the softs, as Callum and Armed and Nikitu both going on a set of the softs. Craggy and Entity going on a set of the medium tyres in that top four, as Nikitu picks up a 3-second time penalty.
Nikitu picking up a penalty. I think that's not affected too much because everyone else around him has got a penalty. As DRS enabled. So the ones who stayed out, that has not helped them at all. Senna, Jonas and Marco, they're going to be kicking themselves. But Craggy and Callum, they're continuing where they left off. Same with Entity right now. As you can see, the crest is a lot easier to take now for these final few moments of the race. The softs ideally last 5 laps. Anything longer than that, then it's going to be a nightmare. So what Cam needs to do is push for these next few laps and then conserve afterwards. He's got to get past. Craggy does get past Marco up into 3rd on the road, but surely Craggy knew that Marco needed to pit anyway, or would Marco would have been brave and stayed out. Marco didn't know the rain was going to stop soon. He thought that the rain was going to carry on, but that's Miami for you. Craggy leads from Callum and Armed in 2nd, Entity 3rd. Senna is coming out of the pit lane. He's going to drop way down because everyone else pitted a moment ago, and surely that's championship over.
Yeah, I think that does look like it will be confirmed. As long as Craggy can keep it on the road and doesn't spin or anything like that and nothing happens to him, I think that it is all but over in terms of the championship. Senna now down into 6th position. Marco, even though he's made now 3 stops, he's still sitting in 7th position since the start. So he's done very well. As Callum and Arm now going for this race lead ahead of the Aston Martin. He gets the move done with the DRS wide open for the Welshman. Now up into the race lead, as I say. But Craggy almost going into the back of Callum and Arm, or very, very late. Did the Aston Martin, but managed to just about avoid the RB in front of him and gets going down into 2nd position. So now we have our new race leader of Callum and Armed, and we'll see what he is able to do. Maybe he was just waiting for the dry conditions to go for that race lead, but of course he's also got those soft tyres on in compared to the guys behind him on the mediums. There's now Craggy under pressure from Entity. Entity also going for that move down the back straight. And Craggy now, I don't think he expected Entity to be there going for that move, but he did in the end. Entity now down, Entity now up into 2nd. Craggy now down into 3rd position. As Nikitu putting a bit of pressure on Lukey. I forgot Lukey. Again, been very quiet this race. He's back up. He's up into 4th position here, Jess.
Lukey, I mean, he's got that penalty. Let's see how many penalties he's got. 3. So he's going to be, I think, 6th at worst, which I have to say for him, is a decent race for him in the Ferrari. As Ricardo and Jason and Nick has had a moment in the final corner as they've been struggling to get their tyres up to temperature. Jason's going to drop down positions anyway, but these 4 are going all guns are blazing for 9th place in this race. And they can't afford to go 3 wide here, as we can see Jason and Ricardo going side by side through turn 2. Come on, there you go. That's my keyboard hanging with a bit mare at the moment. But Jason stays in 9th. He doesn't care. He's got that 9-second penalty. He wants to get that position on the road. The key to gets back from Lukey the position of P4 on the road. And as it stands, it's going to be, I think, Senna that's going to get 4th with Lakitu in 5th and Lukey 6th. So that will be your order in terms of your top 6 at the moment. But these 2 are going to keep fighting like their life depends on it.
Yeah, they certainly will. So top 3 are all so close. Nick picks up a penalty. Craggy gets a move done on Entity. Is he going to go for the move on Callum and Arm? No, he's going to sit behind the Welshman for the time being. But he's also going to have the DRS going down in towards turn 1. But I don't suspect we're going to see Craggy go for a move on Callum in towards turn 1. I think he's just going to sit behind him for now. Just keep that DRS, build up a bit of his ERS. As long as Entity isn't in front of him and putting a blocker on that, then he's just going to be happy sitting in front of him, as there's been a spinner towards the back end of the field. That is Casper again at the exit of the tight chicane, as Entity putting the pressure on Craggy out of turn 6. Not going to be going for any sort of move at the moment, though, and is going to be just sitting behind him for now. But yeah, Entity is trying to see if he can go for any sort of move on the Aston Martin in front of him. But the thing is, Craggy can't fight this too much, because if he does, ends up getting into a collision, championship will end up going over to Spa.
Yeah, the championship could go to Spa as it stands if Craggy makes a mistake. So, this is going to be very exciting over the last few laps. I do not think we're going to get a safety car, as Barrett does get a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As Casper's out of the race, he's retired in the pit lane. And I don't blame him, to be honest. He's not had the best of races. He's not had the best of seasons either. And he said in his pre-race interview that he's hoping that F1 24 ends very soon, and he's left the session with good measure. So a bit of a shame there. So that is his race done, and he's going to hope that he has a good Belgium race, as Callum is going to try and do all he can to pick up another race win in one hub. Craggy, what would you do? Because he knows that you can win the title from here, but he wants the race win. If I was him, just keep it conservative. But I just don't know at this point. You can't afford to make a mistake, because if you bin it, then send us back into play.
I think I can see what he's trying to do. He's going to just sit behind Callum and Arm until it gets to the last lap. And then when the last lap happens, that ERS that he's built up to 80%, that's all going to be just disappearing. Entity, I don't think there's much that he can do about it, although he's sitting on 100% ERS as well, so he may need to start burning some to try and go for any sort of move, as Jason's also into the pits to retire from the session, and has unfortunately, well, that's him now out of the races. 3 retirements, very unfortunate, as here we go, Craggy. I think I was saying he's going to wait until the last lap. No, he's not. He's going for the move now down the inside of Callum and Armed before the tight and twisty chicane.
What defense!
Inside the next corner and gets that move back into the lead of the race. So very good defensive drive from Callum and Armed. But again, it's not over, because we've now got that next DRS straight here, Jess.
Yep, next DRS straight for Craggy to try and go for the move. Because of course, Craggy will have the DRS. Callum and Armed will not, so one of them are going to be DRSing each other. Jason is out, so we're down to 15 runners. I know Mike will jump up a position because... no, he won't, because he's a little bit further back anyway. No safety cars as it stands, but the key to up the inside of Lukey, but maybe not, because Lukey's going to try and get the switch back. I don't think he's going to make the move stick. Oh, yes, he does. The key to is up into 4th, but Lukey, I think, is going to have the DRS going through the start-finish straight in towards T1, but he's playing it safe and not going for the move as of yet. Same with Craggy. He's not going to go for the move unless he thinks he can get it done, but they can't afford to lose that much time, because otherwise they can get into a little bit of a ding-dong fight that could go wrong, which we hope that doesn't happen. But to be honest, this is the reason why those 3 are the fastest guys on track right now. They've been pushing lap after lap after lap, regardless of if they're in the wet, regardless of if they're in the dry. They're good in any condition, these 3. As Craggy trying to go for the move on Entity and Callum Unarmed in towards the next braking zone, as Craggy gets the lead. Callum Unarmed almost lost 2 places, but he's going to try and get the move back on Entity to try and get P2 back. It would have been a danger that he would have lost 2 places in a few corners, but he hasn't. Callum Unarmed is back into 2nd. Craggy takes the lead.
As the great Martin Brundle has said before, I think it was a day late and $1 short for Entity on that one. He tried swooping it around the outside of Craggy in towards that tight left-hander to then have the inside for the next corner, but I think Entity wasn't alongside enough on Craggy, and meant that Craggy could then just shut the door on him. Meant that Entity had to then back out and invited Callum Unarmed to then swoop it around the outside of Entity for that position. Of course, we're now on the penultimate lap of this race, and at the moment, as it stands, Craggy is taking this championship. Senna is down in 6th position. There's not much that he can do about it. Senna would need to be 1st or 2nd for it to carry on to the next round, and at best at the moment he's going to be in 4th position with those 2 out in front of him, with Akito and Luki having penalties. So he needs to hope that there is a collision within this top 3, but as it stands at the moment, Jess, Craggy doing a superb job of holding on to the lead of this race, and Entity trying to put that pressure on Callum and Armed here.
I think Craggy is going to hope that Callum Unarmed and Entity keep fighting, because that's really going to try and draw in the gap, to be honest. And I think those 2 are doing a great job. But look at this. Entity's going to try and get 2 into 1 in towards this next corner. Surely this is not going to work out. It does. Entity takes the lead of the Grand Prix. I've never seen that work before in that corner, but Entity is proving that he could go 3 wide here. And it just shows the respect that those 3 drivers have got throughout the entirety of the race. This is absolutely fantastic from Entity, and it could look like it could be on for, I don't know if it is his first race win or not. I think it might be, and this could be working very well for him in his favour, but we still got one more lap to go. Craggy has got one more lap to go to try and close in on NC and get the race win, because he's going to win the title as it stands, but surely he would want to win the title on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, he certainly will. So as you say, last lap left of the Miami Grand Prix for season 26 of One Hub. Entity, the one that is currently leading it at the moment. I think Callum and Arm's soft tyres have started to degrade quite significantly for him. There's a yellow flags out of the final corner. I believe that is Jonas Olbrook just letting Ricardo go. I'm not sure what for, but the top three all still battling it out with each other. Of course, they're going to be the top three on the podium, but in what order? Because it's I don't know the order at this point. Entity is going to try and hold some of his battery as much as possible. Craggy also trying to do the same thing. He's going to try and maybe swoop it around the outside of Entity as they make their way in towards the tight and twisty chicane. Craggy does inherit the race lead, but it's going to mean he's not going to have any DRS from the guys behind them. That back straight is just Craggy needs the best exit possible out of this back straight, and he's going to try and achieve that right here, right now. He wants to win this title by winning it on track, and I think that's exactly what he's going to be able to do. He's burning that ERS. I don't think Entity's going to be close enough. I don't think Callum and Arm's going to be close enough. So it has been a very long, gruesome title fight between Craggy, between Senna. They've both been back and forth with each other. Craggy, probably the most consistent driver so far this season. We've seen him one up ever, and he has proven that this evening. He's proven that in this season. He has won the Drivers' Championship. He has won the race this evening around Miami. Congratulations to Craggy, and congratulations to the Aston Martins that are both championships wrapped up this evening. Craggy takes the win and the driver's title this evening. Entity with a very valiant effort in finishing second position in the end, with Callum unarmed finishing on the third step of the podium. Those softs were just not enough for him in the end. Senna, you've got to give your commiserations and flowers to him as well. Very, very good effort in the title fight all season long, but just fell short to Craggy in the end. Finishes fourth this evening after qualifying on a pole position. Lukey in fifth, with Lakitu in sixth, Marco finishing in seventh, with Ricardo in eighth, Nick in ninth, Oshin rounding out the top 10 with Waitsy in 11th, and Jonas Olbrook on the last points position. But that is championship all done and dusted. I don't think really any stewards investigations are going to do anything, because Senna still finished fourth regardless, unless there's point deductions. That's all done and dusted in terms of championship wise.
To be fair, I think it was going to be a surprise if the championship did not get wrapped up tonight. Craggy did absolutely fantastic throughout the entirety of the season. The lowest he scored was during the few sprint races. Apart from that, every feature race he did have finished on the podium, which is probably one of the most consistent driver in any tier this season. If he does not win the One Hub Racing driver rankings this season, I don't know who will, because he has shown that he's one of the most consistent drivers in One Hub Racing ever. Cam, if you're watching this, can we have a consistent ranking, please? Just so we can see who's the most consistent driver. I think Craggy will definitely be top dog for that one. So let's go through. Actually, no, Jacob, since your last race this season, you could talk through the results.
Certainly can. So, as I say, Craggy, very gruesome race in the end, and managed to come out on top with that one. Entity, again, just fell short from Craggy in the end. Craggy had that exit he needed on that back straight and managed to hold on to that lead on that final lap. Manages to take second position, does Entity. Callum and from seventh on the grid finishes in third. Again, very good drive from the top three. Again, shows why Craggy was the champion, but Entity and Callum and can give themselves some props for that race as well. Senna finished in fourth in the end, with Lukey in fifth. Again, from eighth on the grid, very good race from him indeed. Lakitu in sixth, 8th, Marco in 7th with the fastest lap, and from 16th with having that engine penalty. So definitely a candidate for a driver of the day as well. Ricardo in 8th with Nick in 9th, Oshin rounding out the top 10, Wasey in 11th, Jonas Olbrook, what could have been probably his best race of the season, unfortunately hitting the wall on the inside and finishing in 12th. Final points, at least he still manages to pick himself up a point. And then just outside the points, you got Curry, Berry, Mike. And then our non-finishers are Jason, Casper, and Furious. And yeah, I think well, I think we've got to do some driver of the day votes here, Jess. And honestly, it was a very good race from a lot of drivers. So I think this is going to be a tough one to call here.
I had a bit of a think whilst we were going whilst you were going through the results there, and the reason why I'm going to go for this person is the fact that he was been looking quick all weekend long. He made a double move on the penultimate lap, just missed out on the race win, but he pulled off the strategy perfectly to finish second. I'm gutted that he missed out on his first race win in one hub, but surely he can have his head held high, and I think potentially he could get maybe a race win next week in Belgium, but we'll have to wait and see. But my driver of the day pick is Entity, and my question is, just missed out on the race win, but congratulations on a great podium. Do you think a win is on the cards going into the final race in Belgium? And do you think you could climb up and reach your goals of finishing in a decent place in the standings, which I believe will be P3? So well done, Entity. You're my driver of the day nomination. Jacob, what's yours? It won't be surprising to see who you're going to go for.
Yeah, I think it's the other Williams. I think both Williams deserve the driver of the day, Entity, and I think the other one, Marco, as well. Unfortunate doing the third stop, but I think it also played in his favour. You know, starting with the engine penalty and grid penalty, you know, it worked very well for him in the end. Do you think if it wasn't raining, could he have made up more positions? Or if it continued raining, could he have made up more positions from where he was at in terms of where everybody else had also needed to pit as well? So that would be my question for Marco in that. But yeah, that's everything pretty much done on my side here just for this season.
Yes, indeed. That's our drive of the day. Of course, if we had to give a third drive of the day, it will be Craggy. But to be fair, both the Williams done a great job. And if it wasn't for that third strategy, that third stop, then Marco would have definitely been up there. But next week, we head to the Belgian Grand Prix, which I think is going to be electric. The fight for third is going to be very important as well. Even the top 5. So every point count. It is going to be intriguing. As my internet is going crazy in the final few moments, typical, eh? But Jack, it's been amazing you covering the P1 tier this season. What has been your standout moment, and do you have any final words for you this season?
Standout this season, I think, is probably watching good old Callum and Arm's first win in the P1 side. I think it was a long time coming, especially when I was racing him in a couple of seasons ago. And obviously for this season, he's managed to, of course, take it. Couldn't be happier for him for taking that win. And same with Nick. Both of those guys, even though I wasn't there for it, both of those guys taking a win in P1 this season. You know, you got to give your flowers to those as well. And sad that obviously I'm missing Belgium next week, but it's been a pleasure this season. Obviously, I appreciate everybody that has, you know, let me do some commentary for this season. Even though I usually race in P1 tier, I thought I'd give it a bit of a change for this time, especially with how the game is at the moment. Anyway, I thought I'd give it a bit of a change, and I do appreciate it, and appreciate, you know, as I say, all the admin team for allowing me to do it, as well as you guys that are running in the league, as well as the guys that are also watching the stream, because without them, we wouldn't have the sponsors, we wouldn't be able to have the stream, and the league probably wouldn't be going if that wasn't for the people that were watching as well, so, and participating. So big thank you to everybody as well that's taken part, that's watched, and yeah, I'm most likely racing the next season and the next game, so see if I can get myself back in P1.
Going back out of retirement. I love it. I told you couldn't get out of racing for that long. That means we need to find another commentator. But yeah, thank you so much, Jack. You've been absolutely amazing. It's good to be alongside you, and it's nice to have your experience because, of course, you raced in the P1 tier before. I haven't, and it was good to have your expert knowledge. But she's going to be on the track this next season. We can't wait to see him on season 27 for F1 25. You could join myself and, well, we don't know who is going to be. We'll get someone for next week. You could join us at 7 p.m. UK time for the Belgian Grand Prix. And also, you can also check Colin and Mike at 5 p.m. UK time for the P2 season finale, where obviously the Constructors' Championship has been crowned, but we have yet to crown a Drivers' Champion. Who is it going to be? It's down to the Battle of the Mercs, just like 2014 to 2016. It's kind of giving me a deja vu vibe, isn't it? Who's going to win out of those two? You'll find out next week. But from us and Jack, thanks for watching. Safe travels and enjoy the real life Miami Grand Prix, if we can get going, that is. So, yeah, congratulations to the Constructors and Drivers Champion of Craggy. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.